The end of the year is where I have always made the most progress towards my goals. Which sounds backwards, I know, but hear me out. January is normally when everyone else is making their resolutions and setting their goals. And it does typically come with a big bang. Everybody's got drive, everybody's got a plan, the gym is packed, and people are on it. But then a few months go by, and the weather starts to get a little bit warmer. You start thinking about summer, and you start to slow down. And then summer shows up, and you enjoy it, as you should. The routines get looser until they pretty much disappear entirely. But this time of year, right about now, when summer starts winding down and fall is coming, that is the window that I have always found to be the very best time to regroup, look over goals again, get back into routines, and lock in for the rest of the year. And that is no small thing, because you get to close out a year having actually done the things you said you were going to do, which feels absolutely amazing. And it sets you up to go after something even bigger next year. But here's the thing. Before any of that can happen, you have to make room for it. You can't expand into a space that is already full. So before we lock in and go after what we want, we subtract. Because everything that's still sitting there, not serving you, is costing you something. It's costing you your time, your energy, and your focus. So that is what we're getting into today. Why the reset you actually need this fall is subtraction. Hey loves, welcome back to the Perfect Sunday podcast for the women who are done playing small and ready to become the main character of their own life. I'm not an expert, I'm a woman who pays attention, and what I keep noticing is that the thing standing between you and the life that you want usually isn't the situation. It's the frame you're seeing it through. So that's what we do here. We change the frame. But first, this week's Sunday obsession. I want this to be your reminder that no matter the time of year, we need to be wearing sunscreen daily. It is so much easier and cheaper to prevent skin damage than it is to later try and reverse it. So this week, my obsession is the Sequin Supreme SPF 50 Glow Boosting Priming Sunscreen from Ultraviolet. That was a mouthful. But the reason I love it is because it's triple duty performance, as it's a sunscreen and a moisturizer, and it also serves as a makeup gripping primer. And it leaves you with a radiant finish with or without makeup. So you were just glowing and protected. And you will find the link for that in the show notes. Now, real quick, my usual disclaimer. I am not a therapist or a life coach. Everything in this episode is just what I have observed, learned, and what has worked for me. I hope that it's helpful to you too, but please take what is useful and leave the rest. Okay, let's get into it. So to start, I'm going to tell you where this is coming from. For years, I did the exact opposite of what I'm about to tell you. My kids would go back to school, the schedule would tighten up, and the fresh start energy would hit me all at once. And I would immediately start adding to my life, to my schedule. A new morning routine, a new workout plan, sign the kids up for sports and art and all the extracurriculars. I would say yes to every volunteer thing because this burst of enthusiasm that came with the new school year made me feel like I could do anything and everything. And then by mid-October, I would be underwater every single time, tired, burnt out, and behind. What I finally figured out is that I was pouring into a full cup. If you're already operating at or near capacity and you try to add on to that, no matter how good your intentions are, it's not going to work in your favor because there simply is no room. All that motivation was landing on top of a calendar that was already packed. I was trying to split my energy into so many different directions at once that I wasn't making any headway and I was exhausting myself. And from this, I learned that I was skipping out on the first and maybe the most important step, which is before I add anything to the fall calendar or make any new routines or lists of goals, I take some time to clear out as much as I can from my life. And part of the reason why I'm so strict about this now is my health. With Hashimoto's, I don't get to overbook myself and power through on caffeine and adrenaline the way that some people can, or even the way that I used to be able to. You can get a lot of shit done on 1,000 milligrams of caffeine. I'm just saying, but there is a cost and it will eventually catch up to you. So I have had to get honest about what my capacity is and how much energy am I spending on things that I don't even care about, which is a limitation, sure, but it kind of made me ruthless in a way that I probably needed to be anyways. And here's what surprised me the first fall that I did this. I cut maybe 5 or 6 things, small stuff mostly, and the amount of room that opened up was wildly out of proportion to how small those things were. Because it wasn't the hours that they took, it was the space they took up in my head in between the hours. Okay, so before we go through where to look, let's talk about what we're actually looking for. Everything you own and everything you've agreed to is charging you something, and not just once. Most things have an ongoing cost, like a subscription, and most of these you signed up for years ago. And even if you no longer find it useful, you're still being charged. Some of it charges you in hours, and that's the obvious ones. But most of it charges you in attention, and attention doesn't show up on the calendar anywhere, so it never really gets noticed. The pile of stuff on the chair charges you every time you walk past it. The commitments that you made that you are now dreading charges you all week, not just on the day. The friend that you have to brace yourself for charges you the whole week after you spent time with them. Some of these things you can easily add up the cost in minutes, and others are a slow drain of energy that can be a lot harder to notice at first. So that's the standard for everything that we go through today. Not this is bad versus this is good, because most of it isn't bad. And that is exactly why it's still there. The question then is, what is this costing me? And would I pay that price again today? And we're going to run that question through 5 places: your home, your calendar, your people, your attention, and your goals. Which is the one that nobody ever audits? And I think it's the most important one, so we'll end there. But for now, let's start with your home because it is the easiest one and the momentum is real. There's a reason people clean the kitchen before they do anything hard. Now, the standard advice is usually to clean and organize with bins and labels and such, but organizing is just storing the problem more attractively. If you have to buy a bin for it, ask yourself first whether you actually need the thing at all. I have been going through every cupboard and drawer in my kitchen one by one and tossing out any old storage containers that no longer have lids, that are stained, items in the pantry that are expired, like bags of flour or old chips, because I know that they're just taking up space and making it so much harder to find the things that I actually need. And then I would go from there into your closet next. Besides the fact that a cluttered closet makes it so much harder to get dressed every single morning, our choices in clothes are very closely tied to our identity. And there is no reason to hold on to stuff that no longer represents who we are. So go through it and pull out anything that you haven't worn in the last year or so, anything that no longer fits, or anything that you feel doesn't accurately represent who you are or the version of you that you are working on becoming. And when you're looking at each piece, be honest about which category it's in. I always have 3 categories. The first is the clothes that you wear and love and feel good in. So that stuff is staying. Second is the stuff that you no longer love and you never wear at all, maybe because it is old or faded, it has holes in it, it doesn't fit, or is just very much so out of style. So you never reach for it. That stuff is going to go inside the giveaway pile or into the trash. The third pile is stuff that you don't really love, but it serves a very particular purpose. So even though you don't really love it, you still wear it and use it often. I would suggest keeping that pile to a minimum. I had a drawer full of sweatpants that fit into that category, and I really wanted to stop wearing sweatpants out and about. But they are useful for taking the dog outside late at night and early in the morning, so I kept 2 pairs and I let the rest go. Now, after your closet is done, you can move through the rest of the house, just clearing any piles that you have sitting on tables or chairs. Let go of things that are broken or you no longer use. This just clears up and removes any distractions and stagnant energy. I always think of it as a clear space equals a clear mind. All right, now moving on to the calendar. And unlike cleaning out your house, this one should be pretty fast. And this is not your to-do list. I am talking about your actual calendar, the next 2 to 4 weeks. Go down it one item at a time and ask yourself, would I say yes to this if someone asked me right now? Or am I only doing it because I already said yes at one point in time and now it's just an obligation? Because a lot of times, what actually is on the calendar is stuff you don't really want to do. You might have said yes to it at one point in time, and then it just kept renewing itself. And what you're looking for specifically is the reoccurring stuff, not the big obvious commitments, because you already know about those. I mean the small weekly or monthly things that just eat up time and energy. So ask it straight. If this landed in my inbox for the first time today, would I say yes to it? And if the answer is no, or if it's a long pause, then that is your answer to cancel it out. And I know when you start canceling things, you might feel like you're letting someone down, even when it's something that nobody would notice you stopped doing. But be honest about who you're actually protecting, because a lot of the time it's not the other person. It's you not wanting to be the one who flaked. You would rather be exhausted than be talked about. But you are allowed to be a reliable woman who does fewer things. Then there's the second layer of this one, which is the stuff that isn't on your calendar, but should be. The invisible standing labor. The person that everyone else calls, the one who remembers the birthdays and does the mental logistics for the whole household and gets the thing from the store on the way home because she's the one who actually remembers. Those are real hours and they really do add up. It just never got written down anywhere, so it never gets counted as something that you can actually adjust. So write it down, all of it, because it is very hard to argue with your own list. The next thing you're going to audit is your people. Okay, now this one is probably the hardest because not everybody in your life is in it on purpose. Some of them are there because of proximity or because of history, or because at some point it would have been awkward to remove them. That might sound a little bit mean to say, but it is true. So, how do you know who this even applies to? Well, there are 2 questions that you can ask yourself. And the first is, how do you feel right after you spend time with them? Are you lit up or are you wiped out? If you pay attention, your body is going to answer this one before your brain even has time to register it. Second is, would you start this friendship or relationship today? If you just met this person right now, would you get along? Would you be friends? Would you make room for them in your life? If the honest answer is no, you're keeping that relationship going out of history. Now, I'm not telling you to blow anything up. Please don't. Because almost all of this gets adjusted quietly, and nobody has a crisis about it. You can see somebody less. Just go for an hour instead of the whole day. You can answer in the morning instead of right away. Start putting some space between your responses. You can stop being the one who always initiates and just see what happens. Some of them will surprise you and step up. And the ones that quietly fade away, you should probably just let them. Now, that second question usually lands on friendships that are running on history. Nobody did anything wrong. You just don't have much left in common anymore, and you both kind of know it. And you keep it going because ending it seems cruel. But you don't have to end it. Nothing ever has to be declared. but you are allowed to stop pouring into something that is no longer growing. All right, the next area is your attention. Right now, basically everything has permission to interrupt you. Every app, every chat, every person, every online store you ever bought something from. None of them earned it. You just never turned any of it off. So start with the group chats and the notifications. Be real with yourself about which ones are actual connection and which ones are noise you feel obligated to witness. And you don't have to leave dramatically or announce anything. Just mute it because really nobody is checking. Then move on to your notifications. Turn off everything except for actual humans that you actually love and want to communicate with. Everything else can wait until you decide to look. Because every interruption doesn't just cost you the interruption. You lose a little bit of focus each time. And if that happens 40 times a day, you never get a stretch of your own mind that lasts longer than 4 minutes. And that is not a discipline problem. You're not scattered. You just gave about 40 different things permission to interrupt you, and every one of them is absolutely using it. Okay, now this is the last one that I want you to audit. At the beginning of the year, when you wrote down your list of goals, or you made your bucket list, you most likely added an array of things spanning multiple areas of life. This could look like money goals, fitness goals, work goals, travel goals. But a long list is the most reliable way to make sure that none of it happens. Because you can't go hard at 9 things. You can go medium at 9 things, but medium effort rarely finishes anything. So pull up that list and go through it. Some of the things you may have already accomplished, which is great. Some things you may not even want or care about anymore. Cross those off. And then with the remaining items on the list, ask yourself which 1 or 2 are the most important to you. Which goals on the list would be the most meaningful or impactful to you once they're reached? And once you have that answer, you know exactly what it is that you're going to be locking in on with minimum distractions for the rest of the year. So your challenge for this week then is this. I want you to cut out 3 things before next Sunday. 1 from your home, whether it be the closet pile, the drawer that is packed full of junk, whatever you've been walking past for months. And then 1 thing from your calendar or your people. So a standing commitment that expired or a chat that you mute or 1 thing that you say no to. And then 1 thing from your goal list. Something that you wrote down on your 2026 bucket list, but no, it's not a top priority anymore. Then pick your 1 goal that means more to you than any other that you are now going to focus on. Between now and December 31st, you're locking in and you're going for it. Write it down somewhere that you are going to see every single day, and that's it. So the big thing that I want you to take away from this episode is that fall is the best window, and you've got several months left of this year to really use to your advantage. And the first thing that you need to do is subtract before you add anything else. Every real reset starts with taking something away to make space, because you can't expand into a space that is already full. So clear your house, clear your calendar, clear the people that sap your energy from you, and clear the goal list down to the 1 thing you actually want. And then go after it with everything you've got. Because 4 months is a long time when you're only carrying 1 thing. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with another woman who you think would enjoy it too. And if you haven't yet, please follow the show, leave a 5-star rating and a review. It helps the show grow, and I truly appreciate it. And come find me on Instagram at Monti_Wheeler. Say hi, ask any questions, or leave a comment. I always love hearing from you guys. Thank you for spending your Sunday with me, and I will talk to you next week. I love you so much.